Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chella and this is Chella Reads a Bit. We are here finally to talk about my worst books of 2023. It's time to sip that haterade. I do not subscribe to the sentiment that, everything has to be positive all the time. Because guess what? Life ain't always positive. I do like positive stuff, but I also enjoy the negative, I am just a hater sometimes. I am spiteful, I can be petty. And I love seeing people talk about their worst books. So I'm here to talk about my worst books, and I love recording this video. It is late, me recording this. It is the 30th of January. I still wanted to do it even though I'm pretty late to the game. But before we get into my worst books of 2023, if you enjoy my videos, feel free to give a like and subscribe. I would love to have you here. It really makes my day, and I love seeing you here. So let's get into it. I am not going to put a disclaimer at all. If you get offended because I don't like your favorite book, these are all my opinions. If you get easily offended, don't watch the video. Easy as that. So these are my worst books of 2023. They're gonna be in order by how I read them in the year, because I just go as I'm going through the year. I write them down as they're happening. So unless I get behind, which I usually do, but regardless. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my handy dandy bullet journal that I write it in, so that's why. Bear with me. Well, let me make a caveat. It's not just my worst. It's my worst and disappointing and DNFs, because I'm not about to make them separate videos. There's just no point. But I'll let you know when it's a disappointing and when it's a worst book. And the DNFs I'll leave to the end of the video. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get into my worst and disappointing books. So the first book is A Stranger Beside Me. I don't remember by who. And I'm not always going to go into synopses. It's just not going to happen. But this one, it's about this lady who knew Ted Bundy. And it's her recounting it and everything. And I was so disappointed in this book because I know Katie from Katie Colson really enjoyed it. And I forget who else I had heard talk about it. And they really enjoyed it. And when I read it, I was like, okay. Like, I was enjoying it. Enjoying is very loose because it's very terrible topic. But as I progressed, I really didn't like the narrative that the author was going with. She is since passed. She really talked about things that I just don't understand. I don't know. I don't know how to talk about it because it is her recount of this, but the way she went about writing it was very She stuck with Ted Bundy way too long, like kind of discrediting the victims in a way, even though she worked with the victims, but yet you were gonna continue hanging out and trying to be close to this serial killer. You couldn't believe that it could possibly be him. I was like, miss me with this bullshit. I don't know. People were being really mean in some of the comments on Goodreads about it, like that she just wanted to make herself more important than she is, and I'm like, there's an argument there, but we don't need to be mean about it. I think that I don't know, she just stuck by him way too long, and I couldn't be with that. And the things that she was saying in the book, I know I have it in a vlog somewhere, so I'll leave my playlist for my vlogs linked down below. I cannot remember which one it was in, but I think it was in one of the readathon vlogs that I really go into it. But I just didn't like her narrative and the way that she was describing sticking by him, and I'm like, you done fucked up. I don't know. So it was disappointing. The writing was fine. I don't know how to properly go about that book because it's like true, and I don't know. But it was disappointing. I gave it 3 stars. Again, is it fair to rate it 3 stars? I don't know, but it was disappointing. It was disappointing because people hyped it up so much. So that's the first one. And then the second one is Cry Wolf, which this was like my 3rd or 4th time trying to read this book. I read it for one of the readathons, I believe. I think Magical Readathon. I think it was like wolf on the cover or in the title and everything. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna read it. I bought it for the Kindle, and what a mistake. I'm pretty sure it's by Patricia Briggs. I think that's like a big name in like these kinds of stories, but I hated it. It was obviously a wolf shifter story, and There's like indigenous native characters in it, and from what I can tell, Patricia Briggs is not one. And I'm not saying that people can't write outside of their culture or anything, but the things that she was saying in the book, the way that she was describing them, the way that it was written, I was like, this does not feel right. This feels icky to me. If I'm gonna read an indigenous story or a native story, I'm gonna read it from an author who is of that descent, because this was an abomination. The writing was convenient, the characters were so annoying, and of course it was like the fated mate kind of thing. She's an omega, he's an alpha, what the fuck ever. And some of those I really dig them, but this was done really poorly. It just, the conveniences, the way things just come out of left field that you don't expect to be there, but then somehow like just come out of nowhere. And it's like the motivations, the mustache twirly villain that is in the story, how conveniently and easily it's all wrapped up. The dialogue, the way the indigenous culture and everything was described. I'm not indigenous, I'm not native. At least the indigenous or native that she's talking about, that are portrayed in the story. And no. I will never touch another fucking Patricia Briggs books, because not only about that, but because it's fucking awfully written. I'd rather just read from an indigenous author, you know? I'd rather do that. So that was like a 1 star. It was one of the worst books. Not disappointing, it was the worst. It was one of the worst books I read. I do not want to read another Patricia Briggs. You cannot pay me enough money to read another Patricia Briggs. It's not happening, but I digress. The next one is one that is gonna be, I think it's an unpopular opinion maybe, but I know I just saw Emily, like I'm getting caught up on some booktube. I'm watching Emily Fox. And I know she was just talking about this book. And I'm like, I feel seen right now. I feel me and you, we're on the same page. And that's The Maid by Nita Prose. I know everyone loves this book. And I can get it to a point, but at the same time, I don't. My fiance had chose it for me for October of 2022, but I didn't end up reading it because things happened. And then I read it for, I think, I forget what made me read it this year, in 2023, but I did read it. And ooh boy, did I not enjoy my time. I mean, I was enjoying it in the beginning, but then at some point I was just like, what am I reading right now? Like, the main character is on the spectrum. I'm sorry if I get these words wrong. She's on the spectrum, but it's not ever distinctly said what it is that she might have or what it is that she's going through, because the author never really specifies. Social cues, social things are harder for her to recognize, I guess is the word I'm looking for, and understand like what people, sorry if you hear that, that's Chibi and his pen eating. Like, she's just not good with social cues and things. She takes things really literally and everything, so and that's not a bad thing in a book. Like, that's not what I dislike the most. It's more of like the writing, the conveniences, the way that the things that were happening to her just kept happening, and it was like, at some point this is just very unbelievable, especially the ending. From where, for what, for why, for when, why? Like, I hated it so much. I'm like, you've built up this character in a certain way, and I get that you're trying to really make a twisty twist here, which I saw coming, don't get me wrong, I saw this coming, but it just doesn't make sense at all. And then the romance that came out of nowhere, I don't believe this romance. I hated it. I didn't like it. I just really didn't enjoy it. It was boring at times. It was so convenient. It was just no. And the romance I just didn't care about, because it just, where did it come from? Can it go? The ending really, really made me upset, because I was like, this just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I'm done. So I really didn't enjoy it. I know that that's not a very good review, but I hated it. I didn't like it. I put it as disappointing because it was disappointing, but I also think it's one of the worst. I'm sorry. It's both disappointing and worst. We get a 2-for-1 here. But, I mean, it's not the worst written. I mean, I gave it 1 star. I gave it 1 star. I didn't like it, guys. I didn't like it. I'm sorry. And then after that is The Grown-Ups by Gillian Flynn. And no, I read it for the Bookopolython, the Spookopolython, and I hated it. The main character was just edgy for the sake of being edgy. Like, the story itself was just edgy for the sake of being edgy. The ending was like, who cares for all of this for this? I hated it. Just from the first part of the book, I was like, this is just gonna be stupid. And it was. The main character was unlikable for the sake of being unlikable. There was nothing to the plot. There was nothing to it, really. It all was just convoluted, convenient, stupid mess. It's very short. It was like 65 or something pages, and I hated it. I hated every second of it. It was bad. I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the characters. Unlikable characters are fine, but this was just unlikable just for the sake of it. You just wanted your character to be gross and disgusting and vulgar and edgy for nothing, just for the sake of it, to be edgy, and I don't like that. I don't like that in a book. And that's all I got to say about that. I really don't have anything else to say. It was just the worst. And the last one for the worst books and disappointing of 2023 would have to be The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshni Chokshi. I read it for Spookopolython also, and I knew that I wasn't sure about the book before going into it, but I did have the Fairy Loot edition, so I was like, okay, I'll read it. And I was very conflicted with it at the end of my time reading it. But as I keep thinking upon it, I like it less and less. The writing is beautiful, but also to the point where it just is kind of pretentious and too much, and there's no substance to it. It reminds me, like I always say, like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, just going in circles, just giving me flowery words that don't actually mean anything to get to a point that could have been said in like few words. I just feel like it was a lot of flower in this book, like Last Tale of a Flower Bride, but not a lot of substance for the amount of words it took to tell it. And the way it was written, I'm like, I called the twist early on. I just didn't understand. It's just, you give me a sad excuse for a man. I didn't see the point in it. Like, the whole time it's literally just this man being like, well, I can't ask my wife about her past, but I'm gonna look into it a little bit, maybe on the side, maybe she doesn't find out. Oh, I can't. Well, just him being like, I can't ask her about it, but then being like, but I really want to know, but not doing anything about it. But then y'all fuck, and then it's fine. And then being like, well, what is about her past? But I can't ask, or she's gonna leave. I just couldn't. The writing, like, I'll do like flowery writing, but if it's like too much and you're just like really giving me nothing with all the words, all the metaphors, similes, flowery writing that you're giving me, purple prose, there's nothing to it. I don't care. It's a waste of my time. It's like Roshni Chokshi knows she can write beautifully, but then she really overdid it in this book, like way too much, like trying way too hard. It was too try hard. It was too shoving all the purple prose and metaphors and just into one book. Just, I don't know, to know that you can write beautifully. Like, I don't understand. She's not a bad writer. I kind of started to piss me off after a while. I'm like, I really don't care. This is so obvious. I just don't care. I don't care about what was going on in this book. I didn't like it. It was not for me. That is another worst book of 2023. Those are all of them, all of the worst. But I do have some DNFs, and I have talked about them before in vlogs and everything. And I did mention one just now as well. We're talking about The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. So the first DNF I had of 2023 was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And if you've seen the vlog where I talk about this, you'll know I hated it. I skimmed to the end, and I'm so glad I didn't waste any more of my time for that ending. I liked Addie LaRue in the beginning, but then as time went on, I was really starting to get pissed off with her. And then Henry was just a sad, sad white man. And I didn't like the twist. I understand why she did the twist the way she did. I don't know if she could have done it in the way that I would have wanted, and that's not on her, on Victoria Schwab to do the book the way that I wanted it done, because that's not on her, that's on me. But I just think it was such a cop-out the way that it was like, how the reason why he could remember her. I didn't like it. I was just like, this just seems so easy. Like, I wanted it to be some other reason, like something else that connected them to, that wasn't just they have this other easy connection. But, you know, that's on me, that's not really on her. But I also was getting tired of the writing style. It literally was a matter of too much words for what you're trying to say. Like, you're trying to make this easy sentence. You're trying to give me this easy concept, but you're going to give me a whole ass page worth to get to this one small ass point that doesn't matter to me. It was so annoying. We know you can write beautifully. We know you can get some prose together. But you don't have to overdo it. Like, that's just what the book was. I love flowery writing, but I hate when it starts to become pretentious. And, like, you kind of can, like, really full of yourself. But I really just was getting tired of Addie LaRue, and I was getting tired of Henry, and I was really getting tired of the whole concept as a whole. It was just, but it was also repetitive in what Addie LaRue was saying, her boo-hoo-hooing for herself. I didn't enjoy it. I DNF'd it. I didn't finish it, but I do know what happens kind of at the end. And all that for what? For why? For that ending? Nah. Miss me with that bullshit. Then another DNF I had was 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. Someone lent the book to me because it was a book they really enjoyed, and I was very happy for them. But and I tried to read it. I gave a good go. I only got like 16 pages in and had to DNF it. And, you know, nothing against their reading taste or anything. It was just a book that had a storyline that hit way too close to home for me. And I was like bawling my eyes out. I'm like, I can't do this. And I also was hating the writing style. It was very list-like. Like, I did this. He did this. I look like this. This is what's happening. Blip, 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 blip. And I didn't like the writing style at all. And then the whole thing that happened that just hit way too close to home personally was just like the whole last straw. So I was like, I'm sorry, I can't read it. I'm happy this was a good book for you. I'm happy for you. Nothing against you or the book. I can't read it for me personally. Especially that the writing style just was not for me. But I've since heard things about Tilly Cole, but I'm not very up to date with it, so I don't know. But I DNF'd that book. And then this one right here, I hate it. It needs to be thrown out, it needs to just be yeeted out of existence. And that is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Maharian. I hated it. I've talked about it numerous times. It was terrible. Just generic religious malarkey. Like, nothing original whatsoever. You're gonna tell me that this is a witch hunter, witch love story? This man who literally keeps calling this chick in his head a heathen, a barbarian, saying some nasty ass shit about her, the way he thinks down on her. You want me to believe they're gonna be together, and then the shit that she pulls, don't get me started. She was also terrible. It literally, you do know a badass female character does not have to stoop so low as to be a man. Being vulgar for the sake of being vulgar, being disgusting, trying to be all macho and tough for the sake of trying to act like you're a badass. No, that's not a badass female character. There's nothing wrong with knowing how to, like, being yourself. Like, yeah, curse. I curse, and I can make silly jokes and be dumb sometimes and everything, but I can still be kind, and I still enjoy being feminine and all this other stuff. Not saying you have to enjoy that, but this was just forcing this narrative that in order to be a badass female character, you have to be a man, pretty much. It just doesn't make any sense to me. That's essentially what they're emulating, is being a man. And how does that make any sense? So that's essentially what this main character was. She was just being gross and nasty for no reason, and the things that she was saying about a 16-year-old boy had me seeing red flags. And I know a lot of people love this book, and I'm like, good on you, but we just looked at that scene and just didn't see anything wrong with it. But you don't have to, I guess. To me, I just was like, this religious shit was already being used in a convenient way, even though you could have taken the religion out of it and it would have still been the same plot line. It just all culminated into this scene really pissing me the fuck off, where she's saying shit about things that she'll be do to this 16-year-old boy. It was disgusting, and I just couldn't do it. I'm happy for people who enjoy this book, but I could not. It was a big red flag. It was a big foul penalty on the play. It was not for me, and I was already hating the characters. I don't understand how you're telling me this is a witch hunter, witch love story, when this man literally is disgusting, and his reasoning for becoming this, in a sense, it's kind of like a priesthood, but his reasoning for why he joined wasn't even because necessarily of being holy or like because of God, but because of a woman. And then the way he just like looked down on women, the way he viewed women, the way he talked about this woman that he's supposed to be and end up in love with, I'm just like, you lost me. You have got to think that I'm some type of stupid to think that I think that these are somehow people that are going to be together. And I can get behind an enemies to lovers, two people who hate and despise each other and look down on each other, but this was some type of stupid. And I couldn't. It was disgusting. No, thank you. So no, I hated it. Serpent and Dove is complete and utter garbage, and I'm not sorry if you enjoy the book. I'm not. Last but not least, it's Foxglove King, another fairy loot. I didn't have very good luck with a lot of fairy loots. I think only Emily Wilde, the girl who fell beneath the sea, and Once Upon a Broken Heart were good fairy loots so far, and that's sad because I have so many. But no, the last DNF was Foxglove King. Have since this year already DNF 2 fairy loots, so yeah, I'll look forward to that. From 2023 was Foxglove King. It was just literally almost the same as Serpent and Dove. I didn't despise it as much, but it literally was just pretty much going down that same route. It was very religious. The girl has magic that is I don't even want to describe it. I didn't hate it per se, but I just wasn't enjoying it. I was just like, this is just a different version of Serpent and Dove, and I don't really want to read that. So I DNF'd it and just skimmed to the end. And for that ending, for what? For why? I'm not gonna do it. Why would I do that? It was so dumb. And it was trying really hard to be adult, but the only thing adult about it was how risque maybe the main character was being. Other than that, it wasn't very adult. Which is a thing that's happening a lot with these fairy loots, because I did have the adult box, and let me tell you, the amount of adult books in that box was not a lot. Forged by Blood was fine. I got the fairy loot edition in my adult box. It was fine, like very middle of the road, but it was very YA, but yet they were marketing it as adult. Like, come on, I'm not stupid. Just stop. There's nothing wrong if they would have marketed it as YA, it's fine. But don't tell me this is adult. It's really not. It's really not, guys. It's not. And I cannot. Those are all the DNFs, all the worst, most disappointing books of 2023. This is all in good fun. This is all just my opinion, me wanting to be a hater. Let me sip my haterade. I'm trying to quench my thirst. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Again, I'm still trying to get not rusty on making these videos, so bear with me if it's not the best. And I'm just all over the place, but I'm really trying. I need to get better at these sit-down videos, but bear with me. I'm gonna try to do more as much as I can, but there's a lot going on, so we'll see. But that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy the video. If you do enjoy my videos, please feel free to give a like and subscribe. I would love to have you here. It really makes my day, and I love seeing you here. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.